I need to be completely honest with you right now. I've been tracking grocery supply chains and prepper food trends for the past 11 years. And 10 specific foods are quietly disappearing from store shelves faster than most people realize, and the trigger could be a single geopolitical event. Number 9 on this list is something every single person in America buys every week without thinking twice. And when I reveal number 2, you're going to feel your stomach drop, because it's the one food preppers always assume they have covered and almost nobody actually does. Hit that subscribe button right now because I release insider supply chain information every single week that you simply won't find anywhere else. Let's get into it. Item number 1 is long grain white rice, specifically the 25-pound bulk bags sold at warehouse stores like Costco and Sam's Club. Here's why this matters. Rice is the single most consumed staple food on the planet. Over 3.5 billion people depend on it daily. In any conflict scenario that disrupts port activity, and America processes over 70% of its rice imports through just 4 Gulf Coast ports, those 25-pound bags become impossible to find within 72 hours. We saw a preview of this in April 2023 when India temporarily restricted rice exports and warehouse shelves in major U.S. cities were stripped within a week. Right now, a 25-pound bag of long-grain white rice runs about $18 to $22 at Costco. Supply chain analysts I follow closely are projecting a 40 to 60% price spike if any significant disruption hits Asian export markets. That same bag could hit $35 overnight. I personally bought 8 bags about 14 months ago. Total cost was $162. I vacuum sealed each bag into 5-pound Mylar pouches with oxygen absorbers and stacked them in a cool closet. Dead simple. White rice stored properly in Mylar with oxygen absorbers lasts 25 to 30 years. That's not a typo. You can use it in literally everything: soups, stir-fry, rice and beans, breakfast porridge. And here's the psychological benefit people never talk about. When chaos hits, having a full rice supply means your brain stays calm. You make better decisions. That matters more than almost anything. Item number 2 is canned sardines and canned mackerel, and I know exactly what you're thinking. Stay with me here, here's why this matters. Canned oily fish is one of the most nutritionally complete survival foods that exists. You're getting complete protein, omega-3 fatty acids, calcium, vitamin D, and B12 in a single can. In a wartime or grid-down scenario, nutritional deficiency becomes a serious medical problem within 30 to 60 days. People focus obsessively on calories and completely ignore nutrition density. That's a critical mistake. Here's the thing about sardines specifically: they're one of the only foods that has remained relatively price stable while everything else has exploded. Right now you can buy a 12-pack of quality sardines in olive oil for about $14 to $18. That's roughly $1.25 to $1.50 per can. In a supply disruption, canned fish prices historically spike 80 to 120%. We saw exactly that pattern during both World War II rationing and again briefly during the 2020 supply crunch. I personally bought 6 cases, that's 72 cans, about 8 months ago. Total cost was $94. Storage is dead simple. Cases stacked in a cool, dark corner of my basement, rotated front to back. Shelf life is 3 to 5 years unopened, and honestly many cans test perfectly fine well beyond that. 1 can of mackerel with some crackers is a complete, satisfying meal. And psychologically, knowing you have real protein, not just carbohydrates, stored away changes your entire mental posture about preparedness. Item number 3 is hard red winter wheat berries, the whole grain, not flour. Here's why this matters. This is one of the most genius long-term storage foods that 95% of preppers sleep on entirely. Wheat berries are the unprocessed whole kernel of wheat. You can grind them into fresh flour, sprout them for nutrition, cook them whole as a grain, or even brew with them. One food, 4 critical uses. When flour disappears from shelves and it will be one of the first things gone, the people with whole wheat berries are in a completely different category. Think about this practically. All-purpose flour right now runs about $4 to $6 for a 5-pound bag. Wheat berries in bulk run about $1.20 to $1.50 per pound, which means you're getting more raw material for less money. But the price gap explodes in a crisis. Flour was completely unavailable or selling for 3 to 4 times normal price for nearly 6 weeks during the spring 2020 disruption. I personally bought two 45-pound buckets of hard red winter wheat about 2 years ago. Total cost was $98. I sealed them in food-grade buckets with gamma lids and oxygen absorbers. Shelf life stored properly is an almost unbelievable 25 to 30 years. And here's something incredible. A simple hand grain mill runs about $60 to $80 and gives you fresh flour on demand with zero electricity. That capability during a crisis is absolutely priceless. Most people watching this are going to nod along, feel the urgency, and then do absolutely nothing. Don't be that person. The foods I've covered so far: rice, canned fish, wheat berries, you can source all three this weekend for under $200 total. That's it. You'd have a foundational layer of nutrition that lasts decades. We're not talking about building a bunker. We're talking about a Saturday morning trip and one afternoon of organizing. Let's keep going. Item number 4 is sugar, both white granulated and brown sugar in bulk quantities. Here's why this matters. Sugar is one of the most critically underestimated survival staples that preppers consistently overlook. It's not just a sweetener, it's a rapid energy source, a natural food preservative, a wound-packing agent that inhibits bacterial growth, and one of the highest demand barter commodities in every single historical crisis ever documented. During World War II rationing, sugar was the very first food item the US government restricted. That wasn't an accident. It's absolutely essential to daily cooking, morale, and caloric intake in ways most people don't appreciate until it's completely gone. Think about this practically. Every sauce, every baked good, every preserved jam, every fermented item uses sugar. When it disappears from shelves, and it will be gone within the first 24 hours of any serious urban disruption, the psychological impact on families with children is massive. People make desperate, irrational decisions over sugar. History proves this repeatedly. Right now, a 10-pound bag of white granulated sugar runs about $7 to $9 at Walmart or Costco. Brown sugar runs slightly higher at $9 to $12 for the same quantity. These prices are genuinely incredible for what you're getting. During the 2020 supply disruption, sugar prices spiked 35 to 50% within weeks, and bulk bags were completely unavailable for nearly a month in several major metro areas. I personally bought 10 10-pound bags of white sugar and 4 4-pound bags of brown sugar about 11 months ago. Total cost was $118. Storage is dead simple. Original bags placed inside sealed food-grade buckets to block moisture and pests. White sugar stored in an airtight container lasts indefinitely, completely forever. Brown sugar can harden but never actually expires. A slice of bread in the container overnight softens it right back. Use it in cooking, preserving, wound care, or trade. The cost is almost insultingly low for a commodity this critical, and the peace of mind from having it stacked is absolutely worth every dollar. Item number 5 is canned soup stock and concentrated bouillon cubes, and this one is a genuine game changer for long-term food storage. Here's why this matters. This is the item that separates people who survive a crisis from people who thrive during one. Here's the thing about eating stored food day after day: rice, beans, oats, wheat. It becomes psychologically crushing within 2 to 3 weeks without flavor variety. Flavor fatigue is a documented survival phenomenon that causes people to skip meals, underconsume critical calories, and experience serious morale deterioration. Canned chicken stock, beef broth, and concentrated bouillon cubes completely transform bland survival staples into actual meals people want to eat. That psychological factor is absolutely critical. A guy I know who worked in FEMA disaster response for 14 years told me directly, the number one morale complaint in every single prolonged shelter situation wasn't comfort or space. It was food monotony. People would trade significant resources just for flavor. Bouillon and stock solve this for almost nothing. Right now, a case of 12 canned chicken or beef stock runs about $14 to $18. A 100-cube container of bouillon runs about $4 to $6. These are massive flavor and nutrition multipliers at almost zero cost. In any supply disruption, canned broth disappears fast because it's lightweight, versatile, and universally used. Price spikes of 60 to 80% are completely realistic based on historical disruption data. I personally bought 6 cases of mixed chicken and beef stock plus 4 100-cube bouillon containers about 9 months ago. Total cost was $104. Storage is completely straightforward, cases stacked in a cool corner, bouillon in a sealed container. Canned stock lasts 3 to 5 years unopened. Bouillon cubes last 2 years minimum, often significantly longer. Add 1 cube to your rice water, add 1 can of stock to your bean pot. Suddenly you're eating meals that feel normal, and that normalcy during a crisis is worth an incredible amount to your mental clarity and decision-making ability. Hey, real quick before we continue. I put together a free downloadable checklist of the top 47 long-term storage foods with exact quantities, current prices, and shelf life data. No fluff, just the actionable list. You can grab that completely free at link in description. Thousands of people have already downloaded it. Takes 30 seconds. Go grab it and come right back. Okay, let's keep going. Item number 6 is dried pinto beans and black beans bought in bulk, not canned. Here's why this matters. Beans and rice together form a complete protein, meaning together they deliver all 9 essential amino acids your body needs to function. This is a nutritional fact that kept entire civilizations alive for thousands of years across Latin America, Asia, and Africa. A person can survive and remain functionally healthy for extended periods on rice, beans, salt, and fat alone. That's not theory, that's documented nutritional history. Now here's what nobody is talking about right now. Dried bean prices have crept up 22% over the past 18 months, and that's before any supply disruption. A 20-pound bag of dried pinto beans currently runs about $18 to $24. If conflict disrupts agricultural regions or trucking infrastructure. Beans are one of the first commodities that disappear from distribution centers because they're both cheap enough for everyone to grab and heavy enough that shipping costs skyrocket. I personally bought 4 20-pound bags of pinto beans and 2 20-pound bags of black beans about 16 months ago. Total cost was $138. I sealed them into Mylar bags inside 5-gallon buckets. Dead simple. Dried beans stored in Mylar with oxygen absorbers last 25 to 30 years at peak nutrition. Cook them with your stored rice, add some salt, and you have a complete, genuinely satisfying meal that costs almost nothing per serving. That psychological comfort, knowing you can feed your family a real meal, is absolutely essential in a crisis. Item number 7 is powdered eggs, whole egg powder in sealed cans or Mylar packaging. Here's why this matters. Eggs are America's single most consumed protein source. The average American household goes through 2 to 3 dozen eggs every single week without thinking about it. Fresh eggs disappear from store shelves faster than almost any other item in a crisis. We literally watched this happen in real time during the 2022 to 2023 avian flu outbreak when egg prices hit $7 to $9 per dozen in major cities and shelves stayed empty for weeks. Now imagine that shortage happening simultaneously with a security crisis. Fresh eggs are simply gone, powdered eggs are your complete protein solution. Here's the thing most people don't realize about powdered eggs: the technology has improved massively over the past decade. Modern whole egg powder scrambles, bakes, and binds exactly like fresh eggs. You can't taste the difference in baked goods. You can barely taste the difference scrambled if you season correctly. 1 pound of quality whole egg powder equals roughly 40 to 45 whole eggs. Think about what 40 eggs means for your family's protein intake over 2 to 3 weeks. Right now, a 2-pound can of whole egg powder runs about $28 to $38 depending on brand. Augason Farms and Ovizi are both excellent. That price represents roughly 80 to 90 egg equivalents. Per egg cost is actually competitive with fresh eggs at current elevated prices. And in a supply disruption, powdered egg prices historically spike 100% or more because demand explodes from both individual preppers and institutional buyers simultaneously. I personally bought 6 cans of whole egg powder about 13 months ago. Total cost was $194. Storage is dead simple, original sealed cans in a cool, dark cabinet. Once opened, I transfer to a sealed glass jar and refrigerate. Sealed whole egg powder lasts 5 to 10 years unopened. Use it for scrambled eggs, omelets, baking bread, making pasta, coating proteins before cooking, and thickening soups. That versatility across cooking applications makes it an absolutely essential cornerstone of any serious food storage plan, and the protein security it provides your family during a prolonged crisis is genuinely priceless. Item number 8 is refined coconut oil in large containers. Here's why this matters. Fat is the most calorie-dense macronutrient available, 9 calories per gram versus 4 for protein and carbohydrates. In a sustained crisis, fat availability becomes critical for energy and brain function. Coconut oil specifically is one of the most shelf-stable fats you can store. Unlike olive oil or vegetable oil, which go rancid relatively quickly, refined coconut oil has a natural resistance to oxidation that makes it a perfect long-term storage fat. Right now, a 54-ounce container of refined coconut oil runs about $14 to $18 at Costco or Walmart. Cooking oil prices spiked 40 to 60% during the 2021 to 2022 supply chain crunch, and edible oil markets remain volatile, particularly because major sunflower oil production regions in Eastern Europe have been directly impacted by ongoing conflict. I personally bought 8 large containers about 10 months ago. Total cost was $128, stored in original containers in a cool cabinet. Absolutely zero special preparation needed. Refined coconut oil stored in a cool, dark location lasts 2 years easily, often longer. You can cook with it, use it as a skin moisturizer, use it as a lamp fuel in a pinch, and use it to season cast iron cookware. That multi-use profile makes it one of the most versatile items in any preparedness pantry. Item number 9, this is the one I mentioned in the intro, is oats. Specifically bulk rolled oats and steel-cut oats. Here's why this matters. Oats are the most purchased breakfast item in America. Nearly every household buys them regularly without a second thought. But here's the critical thing most people completely miss. The oats sitting in your pantry right now probably represent about a week's supply. Maybe 2, that's it. And oats are one of the first breakfast staples to completely disappear from shelves in any regional crisis, because demand spikes instantly across an enormous population base. A 10-pound bag of rolled oats runs about $8 to $12 right now. Steel-cut oats runs slightly higher at $12 to $16 for a comparable amount. These are genuinely incredible prices for the caloric density and nutritional value you're getting. Oats are high in fiber, complex carbohydrates, and have documented cholesterol-lowering properties, which matters in a crisis when dietary stress increases cardiovascular risk. I personally bought 6 10-pound bags of rolled oats and 4 5-pound bags of steel-cut oats about 7 months ago. Total cost was $116. I sealed them in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers inside food-grade buckets. Rolled oats stored in Mylar last 20 to 30 years. You can eat them hot or cold, use them in baking, coat proteins before cooking, thicken soups, and make overnight oats requiring zero cooking fuel. That last point, no cooking required, makes them absolutely essential in a scenario where fuel and fire access might be limited. Item number 10 is freeze-dried vegetables, specifically mixed variety cans from brands like Mountain House, Augasson Farms, or Thrive Life. Here's why this matters. This is where your entire stored food pantry transforms from a survival situation into something sustainable. Rice, beans, oats, wheat, these are all carbohydrate-heavy caloric foundations. Without vegetables, you're looking at serious vitamin and mineral deficiencies within 60 to 90 days. Scurvy, pellagra, and other deficiency diseases are not ancient history, they reappear in any prolonged crisis where fresh produce access is eliminated. Freeze-dried vegetables solve this completely. The technology behind freeze-drying removes 98% of moisture while retaining 97% of nutritional content. That's not a marketing claim, that's the result of NASA-funded food preservation research. A single large can of freeze-dried mixed vegetables can contain the equivalent of 30 to 40 fresh servings. Current pricing runs about $25 to $45 per large can depending on the variety and brand. These prices have already risen 30% over the past 2 years and are expected to continue climbing as demand from preparedness-minded buyers increases. I personally bought 12 large cans across several varieties, corn, peas, carrots, bell peppers, broccoli, about 14 months ago. Total cost was $380. Stored in original cans in a cool, dark basement shelf, storage couldn't be more straightforward. Shelf life is 25 to 30 years sealed. Once opened, you reseal and use within a year. You rehydrate them directly in soups, stews, rice dishes, or omelets with stored egg powder. Add freeze-dried vegetables to your rice and beans, and you've just created a genuinely nutritious, complete meal that someone could eat day after day without the physical and psychological deterioration that pure carbohydrate survival causes. There you have it, 10 critical foods that are quietly disappearing or will disappear within hours if conflict ever reaches your city. The pattern is clear, these aren't exotic survival items. They're foundational foods with long shelf lives, high nutritional density, and proven historical track records during periods of extreme supply disruption. Retailers and distributors operate on just-in-time inventory systems with almost no buffer stock. When demand spikes suddenly, shelves empty in hours, not days. Here's what I want you to do right now. In the next 7 days, go to your nearest Costco, Walmart, or bulk food retailer and start with just 3 items from this list: rice, beans, and powdered eggs. You can cover all 3 for under $50, that's your foundation. Then add 1 or 2 more items each week until you've worked through the full list. No massive single investment. No overwhelming project, just steady, smart accumulation. If you found this valuable, hit that subscribe button right now because I keep bringing you insider supply chain information and preparedness data that nobody else is covering at this level of specificity. Stay smart out there, I'll see you in the next video.